Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. It's your T-shirted historian. Welcome to another week in Geek. So, as many of you know, about 3 days ago, I turned 51. And the interesting thing about getting older is I have started to notice more and more that it's a little easier to look back on stuff and see where either A, something went wrong, or B, something went right, or how things could have been done better. I don't know. There's the old saying, with age comes wisdom. Maybe it's true. It kind of seems to be true for me because I certainly don't feel as immature as I used to back in my 30s and even my 40s. Maybe it's just because the older I got, the less capable I feel physically, so I try to be more cautious. Maybe it's just because being older, I have more to lose and more to risk. Because, for example, getting fired from a job is more troublesome when you get old. When you're in your 20s and stuff like that, you don't care. It's a job at McDonald's. It's a job at sacking groceries. It's a job, doing telemarketing or whatever like that. You don't give a shit. That stuff, you can get another one of those jobs pretty quick, or you can get a different job or a better job. There's opportunities ahead of you. But the older you get, the more you start seeing how the training that you had when you were younger doesn't add up to skills that you need to make it in a more modern job, a better paying job. So if you do find something that's kind of halfway decent, you tend to want to hang on to it more and more, and you feel more attached to it. And the longer you stay at a job, that feeling of attachment and vulnerability tends to grow. So you become more cautious, I guess, and more wary of losing that job, losing that position, losing what little that you have. And the other part of getting older is you get more comfortable with certain things and certain realities. And anything that disturbs that comfort is a real, pain in the butt. It really is. So maybe that's part of growing old and getting wiser. I don't know. There's people who are older than me who attend my channel, and they could probably elaborate on it even more than I do. But I will definitely say that I do feel my years a lot more now than I did, maybe 5 or 6 years ago even. So I have kind of an interesting topic for a rant here. So one of my panelists, one of my friends, GuardBro, was talking to me today, and he says, what did he say exactly? He said, I was told I was hurting your stream. Was that not correct? And my response was, who told you that? And honestly, I don't ever remember telling GuardBro that, or if I managed to imply that or anything like that. I certainly didn't mean to. I've never had a problem with GuardBro coming on my streams. Does he talk a lot? Yeah. Does he talk a lot over people? Sometimes. So do a lot of guests. That's just kind of the way they are. That's stuff like that happens. But he's a funny guy. He brings some interesting insights into the conversations. And it's like I pointed out. I said I've actually lost more viewers by having Grim Jim on than I have, ever having GuardBro on. But here's the deal, man. Grim is my friend. I've known Grim for a few years now, and I don't keep Grim on for his political opinions. I don't keep GuardBro on for his political opinions. I don't keep Ironcaster on for his political opinions. I'm not even sure what all of Ironcaster's political opinions are. And all the time that we've known each other, we don't really hit politics all that much, nor religion. The fact is, all these people I have on my panel are on my panel because they're intelligent people who bring some facet of understanding, knowledge, and insight to our discussions. You know, these are people who can kind of leap between discussions, because I have a lot of hobbies. I have a lot of interests, okay? I mean, you know, what is it we talk about on this channel? We talk about toys, thanks to Ironcaster. We talk about, we talk about movies. We talk about TTRPGs. We talk about video games. We talk about miniature painting. We talk about all kinds of stuff. You know, and if I have somebody on here who can't adapt quickly and jump between topics and keep up, I don't kick anybody off, but pretty much, you know, they usually stop coming on themselves. You know, maybe they feel like they can't keep up. Maybe they feel like, you know, they're too pressured by having too many topics that we switch between too quickly. But the case in point is the people who are on the panel are here because I value their input. And on some level, I am somewhat of a friend, or I at least try to be a friend with the people I bring on my panels. You know, I don't want to make hostilities with anybody. So you can understand how much it bothers me when I have people, you know, who are ostensibly fans of the show, who tell me that I need to take such and such off the panel because they don't like them. You know, that's not cool. Because first off, you're basically telling me what to do on my own show. And I get it, you know, the customer is always right. But there comes a point where you can't satisfy every customer. And I got to draw the line, you know. I'm not kicking someone off my show just because somebody doesn't like them. You know, it's like, that's your choice to not watch. You know, like I said, I don't keep anybody on this show to listen to their political opinions. And I try to keep my show apolitical. You know, you're not tuning in because you want to hear all about our politics and what we really think about what's going on in the world. I mean, yeah, sure, you're going to laugh whenever I make jokes about, WotC labeling orcs as Mexicans and stuff like that. And some people could probably consider that to be political. I just consider it to be hilarious because, you know, it affects me on kind of a personal level. And, you know, I like to bring up stuff like that. It's also kind of an indicator of what's going on with the hobby as a whole and what the problems are in it. It's a symbol of my passion for the hobby, for the things that we love. You know, I don't get mad about Star Wars because I hate Star Wars. I mean, I kind of hate what it's become. But, you know, I watched the first film back in 1977 at a drive-in theater, and I was like all of 4 years old. And it was awesome. Me and my friends, we used to play with Star Wars toys all the time. We used to, try to collect as many as we could. And we grew up, having little lightsaber fights and everything else, just like kids do today. So that's why it really hurts me to see what it's turned into. That's why I get mad about it. That's why I talk about it. That's why I tell people what's wrong with it. Because I can see the problems with it. It's not being made by people who love it. It's being made by people who are, just pushing their own agendas on it. They're not telling a Star Wars story. They're telling you their story. Okay, well, that's nice. Sorry about your problems, bro. Can we get back to, Lucas's universe now? But getting back to what I'm saying, the people I keep on this channel are here because they contribute meaningfully to our discussions in one way or another. Most of them have an expertise either in writing games, developing games, or even just playing games and having good observations about the games they play. You know, whether it be video games or TTRPGs. Not too many of my panelists miniature paint. GuardBro is actually one of the only other miniature painters who comes on the channel, and he doesn't come on very often, so that's unfortunate, because I would like to swap miniature painting tips and stories with him sometime. But one thing you can be assured of when you tune into The Week in Geek or Tuesday with Geeks or Dungeons and Discussions is we're not going to hammer you over the head with politics. We're not going to hammer you over the head with what's wrong with, you know, other places in the world, you know, or problems going on with it. You know, we're not here for that. We're here to talk about hobby stuff. We're here to try to entertain you for a little bit by making jokes and trying to show you the good stuff as well as the problems, because that's kind of what we do. We you know, I didn't build this channel for hate clicks. I didn't build it on negativity, and I don't want my channel to go that way. Yes, I could have had 5,000, 15,000 subscribers by now if all I had spewed every Saturday was, this sucks, it's all crap, and you know. I probably would have a much bigger audience because people seem to enjoy that. But not this old man. This old man don't like that. Yes, it's okay to complain about stuff because we're passionate about it. Yes, it's okay to tell people what's wrong with something critically, because that isn't a part of the fandoms that we all share and love, is critical assessments of those fandoms, what we love about them, what we hate about them, what we dislike about the direction that they're going in. You know, these are critical examinations of the things, and they're not so much meant to hurt people, but they're meant to illuminate things to people, because you have people out there who've never heard these criticisms before about these hobbies and things. And they get defensive and they want to, you know, become keyboard warriors up on X and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, you know, stop. You're just making yourself look dumb because you're not listening. So, with that in mind, I may start taking some more chances on having folks on who are maybe not necessarily all that beloved by the community. You know, I've mentioned it a couple of times. I've had conversations with Jeffro Johnson behind the scenes. And, you know, contrary to his persona on X, he's actually somebody who's kind of relatable, and I can understand him, and we have actually shared a lot of common experiences. Do I agree with him 100%? No. Do I agree with Grim 100%? No. Do I agree with Ironcaster 100%? No. So why does that make Jeffro any different than any of the other panelists I have? Do I like necessarily what Jeffro thinks about, you know, certain people or certain political opinions? No, but he ain't on here to discuss that. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're not here to talk about his political opinions. We're not here to talk about what he thinks about certain people. We're here to talk about what he thinks about games. Grim is on here to talk to me about games, movies, books, whatever. Ironcaster is here to talk to me about books, movies, games. You know, Harmony is on here to talk to me about books, movies, games. GuardBro is on here to talk to me about books, movies, games, miniatures. And that's it. That's all we're about. You know, if you tuned in hoping that we were going to like solve the world's problems from our chairs, you know, and tell you how to fix everything that's wrong out there, and with our political opinions and our mindsets and who to vote for and all that, you tuned into the wrong channel, man. I'm sorry. There's definitely another good channel that does stuff like that, and he's a great guy. I love him too. He's a nice guy. But that's not me. So I'm sorry if it loses me views, if it loses me fans. It's just not what we're going to do. It's not our format. We're never going to do that. But for those of you who stay and enjoy what we do and laugh and chime into the conversations and actually inform us, because I'll be honest, guys, you out there in the audience are a massive source of information for us. You really are, because, I'll be the first person to admit that I am not the smartest guy in the room. I know a lot, but I don't know everything. And I love hearing from the audience. I love it when you guys tell me new facts about stuff that I didn't know, or inform me about products I didn't know about. These are all really helpful. These are all good things. They bring up conversations. And, I love you guys for it. I really do. And I do love it when you guys do super chats and stuff too, because that helps out. I'm not going to lie. But yeah, GuardBro is welcome on this channel anytime. Neckbeardia is welcome on this channel anytime. I got no problem with those guys. I got no problem with anybody I bring on here. The only way I'm going to throw somebody off this show is if they get on here and they start cursing their head off and saying a bunch of stuff that is totally political and totally off topic and has nothing to do with my show. Then in which case I'm going to hit the button and say, hey, thanks for coming on, but until you can rein that in, you're not welcome here, because this is not what I'm all about. So for all you guys out there who are still there, thanks very much for listening, and thanks for sticking with us. So let's bring on our guys. Oh, look, Ironcaster's bored. He's reading Conan. You don't want to listen to my rant.
Oh. Well, see, I had this up because I did have an important question for you, T-Shirt.
Oh, okay. What is it?
Which cover do you like better?
Ooh, dang. I'm gonna say the one in your hand there, just because it looks more detailed. The other one really looks racy, though. I like it.
I mean, that's kind of the good problem. There's in a way too many good choices here for covers.
Yeah.
Because let's just say I don't exactly need 2 copies of the book.
Are you saying you'll send one?
I am saying that.
Woo! Hey, I never say no to a new Conan book. And hello, Grim. It's good to see you, bud.
Hello. Can I say something quickly in response to your rant?
You may say something quickly.
Okay. I've never made a secret of my politics at all. They just don't appear in my games. But, I comment on stuff occasionally. If you go in and try to strong-arm T-Shirt or anyone else because of my presence, then you're a dick. And that's an end to it, really. That's the be-all and end-all of it. What I find particularly upsetting and ironic, and it's making me think I should turn the other cheek a lot less, is that a lot of the people clutching their pearls this time around have spent the past 5-10 years banging on about how much they appreciate free speech, political speech, free expression, all the rest of it, and yet they're the first to get their lacy knickers in a bunch when someone says anything even slightly against what they think. There you go. But T-Shirt actually stands by that, talks the talk, walks the walk, is willing to have people on and around who disagree with him about this or that or the other. So I would say stick around people who are like that.
Yeah, that is the big challenge, though, is upholding the values and holding yourself to the standard by which you try to hold others to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Johan W., you said too much skin. The stream needs more of Jesus. It's funny you would mention that. Okay. I don't know how many of you guys
the racy books.
No. How many of you guys know about this? But out on the internet, This is an amazing resource. People have taken the voice actor of Joshua Graham, and they are actually using the character of Joshua Graham to do things like dispense life advice or to straight up read scripture. And I have actually started. Well, actually, I've been listening to Joshua Graham read scripture for a while now. I'm kind of. I think they haven't posted anything new in a while, but I've gotten to listen to Joshua Graham read me Genesis, the Book of Luke, Timothy, and a few other things. And it's kind of funny how some of that stuff actually resonates me with a little bit more. You know, I'm not going to tell you guys I'm a super Christian or anything like that. I don't go to church. I'm not a big worshipful person. I'm kind of an agnostic at heart, really. It's like, yeah, I do believe there's probably a God out there somewhere. I just not sure how involved he is with us. But that doesn't mean the Bible is not a good book, because it is. It's got some great life advice. It's got some great history. You know, it's absolutely a must-read book. It really is. Even if you don't worship, don't believe, don't subscribe to any of, the Christian philosophy.
I think I'd rather hear a Henry Rollins version.
You probably can. You probably can. I mean, before too long, they'll have an AI Henry Rollins who could read it for you.
I think that would make Henry explode.
It probably would.
So, my favorite version of the Bible is the Brick Testament.
The Brick Testament? What's the Brick Testament? So,
here, I will pull up an example for you. But suffice to say, someone went and recreated the entire Bible, like verse for verse, like scene for scene, in Lego.
What?
Yes.
God, that must have taken forever.
Thousands and thousands of bricks. It is a tome like this thick. And it is here. I'll pull up an example here, but I'll show you the little bit of it.
I'm waiting. Oh, I see. Okay, no, I thought you meant like they literally managed to like make all the passages out of Legos.
No. It's a comic.
Ah.
And there's this God in the back.
Interesting. Nice. All right.
Of course, we get all the important stuff, like the removing of foreskins on this show. You never know what you can expect.
Definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
That's politics and religion. Now we can get on to the important stuff.
Yeah, we get on to the important stuff. Let me see. So we saw some commercials for Snow White, and so yeah, this is a picture from the new Snow White movie coming up by Disney with what's her name? And in case any of you wanted to watch it, I guess in Snow White's world there are 3 suns because you have light sources coming from 3 different angles. Because you have one that's coming from the viewer's direction, you have one coming out of the far direction, and you have one coming out of that side direction. So you have 3 different light sources lighting the room.
Why does that second dwarf on the left there look like he's like an old military general?
I have no idea, but yeah,
he's got his beret on.
Yeah, they have made all the dwarves CG, and the uncanny valley is just wow.
Now, little people need better unions. They've been replaced by CG here. They're not even in the new Time Bandits.
Oh, you can thank Peter Dinklage's comments for that. It's funny, man. I was hanging out with a bunch of people yesterday of who were, mostly on the left, and several trans people and such. you know, and they were all great people, and I have nothing against any of them. But it was funny. I was mentioning DEI stuff, and they were curious about what is DEI. So I talked about diversity, equity, inclusion, and how it's actually been ruining things. And even they were kind of like, "This is ridiculous," because they got it. You know, it's like, okay, let me give you an example. It's like, if they decided, okay, well, we need to make Superman for Latin American countries, so we're gonna make Superman, but he's gonna be a Latino or a Latinx, because we have to be proper Latinx, and he's gonna be, you know, gay, and you know, whatever other check boxes they need for DEI. Okay, well, first off, I don't necessarily feel represented. What I feel like is you're using my race as a costume now to clothe a well-known and beloved character. Not only are you making me unhappy, but all the people who love Superman are now unhappy because they're basically seeing the character that they grew up with be distorted this way.
Well, and the thing is, there are ways where it can be done. The Superman and Lois actor was Asian.
Yeah,
I'm spacing on the name, but the thing was, the show wasn't made about him being specifically being Asian.
Nope.
Whereas nowadays it's done purely for the sake of publicity, for marketing,
for DEI.
There's no genuine like desire there, and unfortunately, it's gotten to a point. Yeah, thank you, Megan. Thank you, Dean Cain. The issue is, you know, by and large, it's been pushed so much for, you know, the DEI thing's been pushed for, is also like part of the marketing now, where it is some of the first things you hear about these movies. I mean, the Eternals famously, before we knew anything about it, it was, oh, we have the first deaf superhero, we will have the first gay kiss in this movie, and I'm like, who's the villain gonna be?
Yeah, and what it is, this is what I see. Back in, you know, the old days when we actually had halfway decent writers, they could fit diversity, equity, and inclusion into a storyline and make it seamless to where you could actually enjoy the story. Because I still remember when North Star came out as gay in the Marvel comic books, and it was shocking, but nobody hated that comic book because of it. They were like, oh, well, that's different. Okay, well, okay. You know, and everybody went on about their business. It didn't bother them. You know, et cetera, et cetera. But now for some reason, we live in some kind of alternative Kern manufactured universe that writers showcase these particular things as the sum total of a character's identity, rather than them being. It's not Superman. It's gay Superman. It's Latinx gay Superman. See what I'm saying? Instead of it just being Superman.
And there are certain characters where you can introduce, you know, other versions of them, where the mantle idea does work. Like, for example, Green Lantern is a perfect example of that. It's literally a ring. I have one here somewhere, but anyone can step up and be Green Lantern if they have the appropriate character of quality. They can become Green Lantern. You could make a Latino Green Lantern.
Sorry, you were saying? I couldn't help it. I'm sorry.
Raised by humble cocaine farmers.
We massage the cacao bean.
Oh my gosh! But I mean, that's just
it. It's this frustrating thing of not every character is a mantle that can be swapped. That was one of the biggest mistakes we've seen over the last couple of years, to the point where like we're gonna be getting, you know, Black Captain America, and the thing is, that's a character where the mantle swap has worked before, because famously Bucky Barnes for a time became Captain America, and really, if you kind of watch those movies, there was kind of this narrative arc where it would have worked to pass the shield up and be Captain America for his only friend from their old life. Like there's a strong emotional connection there. You could absolutely make work.
Sure.
But they choose not to do it because they want to play the DEI game, and it's like, oh, well, America's not ready for a black man to be Captain America. It's like, bitch, why? No, this is dumb.
Yeah, it is dumb.
We watch a lot of cartoons still in this house, despite pushing 50. And I like the way that a lot of kids' cartoons these days handle it. It's just there, right? You don't comment on it. You don't draw huge attention to it. It's just there. Like Loud House is one, for some reason we watch it a lot just because I think it's on a lot. But the main character's best friend has 2 dads. Okay, so what?
Yeah.
Nothing's brought to it. You're not pointed at it. It's just there. One of his sisters is at least bi, maybe gay, but it's a kid's show, so it doesn't go into that, except, a couple of girls kiss occasionally. Yeah, it's just there, and that's fine. And there's a spin-off show that's an all Latin family, and I find that one fascinating because it gives me a little window into things about Latin culture. So I get to learn something, the same way that I used to like watching anime to learn about the Japanese culture. But the regionalizers have slowly taken that away from us to an extent. It's just nice when it's just there, or it kind of passively gives you an opportunity to learn something interesting.
Yeah. I mean, most of my understanding of British culture and everything actually came from watching Danger Mouse as a kid. So
not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, good okay, yeah.
Baron Silas Greenback. Yes. I love that show. It was great.
For me, it was Red Dwarf.
Yeah, Red Dwarf was later for me, but yeah. But I mean, I grew up with Doctor Who, and I gotta blame Nickelodeon, because Nickelodeon had a lot of shows from Thames. So yeah, I got to watch a lot of British TV. So that was cool. That was my first, sampling of other culture type stuff aside from Japanese anime. So
yeah, it's a good spread of stuff to learn about British culture. I think Doctor Who, the older ones, had a bit of history.
Yeah,
and a love of eccentricity and the underdog, or that kind of thing. Red Dwarf is brilliant for banter. That's a good primer in British banter culture, just the way they go at each other all the time.
Yeah.
So,
oh, yeah. Benny Hill, Monty Python. Yeah, those were good, too.
Benny Hill's unrepresented.
Paddington Bear was... I actually watched that as a kid.
Paddington's good, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's cool.
One of my favorite shows out of Canada was Red Green.
I didn't watch a lot of that, but I did see it. I forget what I used to watch that was like, You Can't Do That on Television was produced entirely in Canada, and it was all Canadian actors, so there was a little bit of Canadian culture in that.
Wasn't Degrassi Canadian?
Yeah, but I didn't watch that.
Okay.
The only thing I know about it was what Coolio was in it, or no, Drake.
Oh. I don't know, I guess. I don't know. I didn't care about them. I cared about like the main characters, like Moose, who apparently she's a producer or something now.
By the time that show was on the air, I was watching anime, so
yeah. And
then I never looked back.
And I'll tell you what, and the only reason I bring this up is because I did not realize how much of an impact this had until my friend, he's not a producer, but my video guy, Animane, showed me how much it meant to him. But Akira Toriyama, after he died, Animane wrote some really just absolutely touching stuff about how much Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z affected him growing up, and how, you know, all the other kids and stuff used to look up to it and how much they watched it and everything. And, you know, that was a Japanese anime that actually became super duper successful over here. And I didn't realize exactly how big of an impact it had on everybody, how much cultural impact it had. I mean, just the other day, I'm at work, and you know, I go to this other coworker's office, and she's got like Vegeta all over everything, and I'm just like, I didn't know you were a Dragon Ball fan. She goes, yeah, and I said, but why Vegeta? And she told me, just, I mean, straight face. She said to me, because Vegeta is even though he is kind of an egotistical, arrogant man, he is also a man who will not sacrifice his family for anything. And I thought, that's actually really cool. She said Goku would sacrifice his family to save the world. Vegeta never would. And that told me a lot about her, too, because it's like, you know, obviously family is really, really important to her. And I never actually thought of Vegeta as somebody to look up to.
He's, you know, for all his character, you know, flaws, he is, at the end of the day, one of the better dads in the show. Well, up there with someone like Piccolo, who's kind of an adoptive father to Gohan.
Yeah.
But like, just, you know, thinking back over, remembering like Vegeta sacrificing himself to save his son.
Mm-hmm.
And then in Super, someone, I think, Beerus lays a hand on Bulma, and Vegeta just goes ape shit over it, screaming, "Don't you touch my wife!"
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't quite expect it sometimes, but you know, then you really stop and think about it. You're like, yeah, he is kind of, he does fit a lot of these character quirks. He's harsh, but he means well.
Yeah, I never really. You know, I like I said, I was just shocked to find out how big of a cultural impact Dragon Ball had. I mean, because to me, Dragon Ball was just kind of like, yeah, it's this cute, funny show, but I never really got into it because there's way too many characters and it's, you know, way too overblown, and I don't want to spend all this time watching it. Kind of like the same problem I have with One Piece.
When it takes 3 episodes to land a punch, that's
yeah, yeah. I mean, you know,
you say that, but it. No, the thing is, Dragon Ball has just had that persistent staying power, because the show's been off the air for like, what, 15, 20 years at this point now?
Mm-hmm.
And people still hold it up as like the be-all and end-all of anime, like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I enjoyed it, but I kind of moved on to some other shows. I still have my respect for it, and I wish dearly that we could actually get a pristine copy that isn't butchered.
Yeah, and it's not like we don't watch a lot of modern anime and stuff like that. There are lots of really great anime that are coming out now. Some things that I think are instant classics, like Frieren, you know, which is an incredibly good story. Reincarnated as a Sword, which is, I think, underrated as a really good story. You know, some of these things like this. But at the end of the day, you know, you talk to all the anime nerds, and they're going to, you know, tell you that all the classic anime are the ones that really, you know, made an impact on them. You know, Ghost in the Shell, Dragon Ball, in my case, Fist of the North Star, you know.
Drink.
Yeah.
I finished it, so I can't.
You know, as far as modern series go, like, we are in a way, we're in some way spoiled for a lot of, there is a lot of good stuff out there.
Yeah.
But then we do get a lot of the same old. Like Isekai just is half the anime right now. That said, of course, my one absolute favorite recent series, Overlord.
Yeah, I kind of like it, but my problem with Overlord is I really don't feel a lot of pathos for the main character, because it's just kind of like, you know, he's going to win. And not only that, but he's going to make it look easy every time. At least Kenshiro had to struggle.
And that's what that's why I enjoyed it. There's a power fantasy to it.
Okay. Well, that's fair.
Also, like great supporting characters.
Yeah. My effort to watch more modern anime has been stymied because they don't have the licensing rights to most of the dubs, and because I like to work and have it on at the same time, I can't be doing with subtitles. So yeah, unfortunate.
That's the problem. Is subtitling requires your attention, and the dubbing is just terrible most of the time.
Yeah, it's even worse when it's a really long series and they've only got the license for some of the dubs. Ooh. So you go from one where you've got the English dub to one where it's subtitles to one where the only alternate language is Portuguese or something. It makes it hard to follow what's going
on. Yeah, Goblin Slayer was a great take. Goblin Slayer actually kind of brought me back to watching modern anime. Because I was kind of out of the modern anime loop for a while, and then my friend said, "Hey, you need to watch this." We saw the first episode of Goblin Slayer, and I'm like, "Oh my god, this is really good. Can we watch some more of this, or is there more like this?" So I credit Goblin Slayer with bringing me back to watching modern anime. And yes, Record of Lodoss War was incredible, guys. Record of Lodoss War is the definitive D&D movie or show, I should say.
That was the first anime box set a friend of mine got, and we sat and watched the whole thing.
When I went to Japan, I very painstakingly looked for every single VHS tape of Record of Lodoss War and brought them all home. And it wasn't easy because they didn't have all of them in one place. I had to go to several different video places to get every single Record of Lodoss War. But I did it. And I had a complete VHS collection for a while. I mean, it wasn't translated or anything like that, so all we could do was sit there and watch and kind of hope, we could understand what was going on through watching it, but so we didn't get all the nuances.
You went on a long, tedious fetch quest in another realm.
Literally.
Yes, and got the Platinum Japan medal.
Yes. Well, I almost brought back all of the Fist of the North Star manga back then too, but I was incomplete by 2 books, which is why I'm very.
You were reincarnated in a new world with the sole job of collecting manga.
Well, that wouldn't be such a bad job, would it?
Not quite long enough as a title. It needs more.
Yeah. Patty's Parlor. Yeah, Delicious in Dungeon is good. Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Oh man. I still can't listen to that music and not start crying. I still can't. Berserk is getting a new run.
You're a cheap cry.
I am a cheap cry. I don't care. Fist of the North Star taught me that men can cry and it's okay. Manly tears are a thing. But, But speaking of anime, I wanted to bring this up because I don't think we talked about it enough, and I want to get Ironcaster on the conversation. And I want you guys out there in the audience to get in on this too, because if you did not watch our playthrough of Fabula Ultima, you absolutely need to go back and watch it. Not because we're necessarily all that exciting and spontaneous and funny and all that, but because you could see how easy the system is to work in action. And it is easy. Making a character a little bit complicated at first because you're not quite sure what you're doing. But once you get it down, it's easy. Once you learn the terminology of the game is super easy. It has a really good flow. I like the way, the task resolution mechanics. I like the fact that it has a leveling system, so you still get that sense of accomplishment from leveling up, and it avoids hit point bloat.
I do like with it the fact that there's basically only 4 levers of choice for what the stat combo should be for what to roll. So you're basically told roll this and this. All right, so at most you need 8 dice. 2 of each one, just to cover the bases. And I mean, come on. If at this point, if you're picking up Fabula Ultima, you already have a nice big old heavy sack full of dice.
Oh yeah,
you've got more than enough to play.
And no D20s. I don't believe we used any D20s in that at all.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, look, we got Jeffro. He says Japanese cartoons cause brain damage, permanent loss of the ability to perceive transcendent aesthetics. I don't believe that's true, because I can still enjoy a good Japanese anime, and I can still turn around and read a good book like Jack Vance, which I'm doing.
Counterpoint Jeffro, Steven Universe.
That's not a good example.
That's the alternative. That's the alternative to Japanese cartoons.
Oh, okay.
I think I'd agree with his statement if you replace Japanese cartoons with Cal Arts.
Yeah, I agree.
But then there's some Cal Arts style stuff that transcends its medium, I think. I liked Star and the Forces of Evil. I thought that was good.
Oh, yeah.
What about Aeon Flux? I mean, that technically was an American production.
Yeah, that's pre the whole Cal Arts style movement. So, but yes, that was really good.
Okay.
And you can buy the soundtrack. Drew Newman is the artist who created all the music for Aeon Flux, and you can buy the soundtrack albums from him. Nice. And he's a gamer.
Nice. And by the way, Jeffro, yes, we're going to look at a time to get you on. I just have to make sure that I can get a big enough panel to really grill you.
And a big red mute button.
No, I'll be honest. Okay, it's like despite the public persona that he puts on, Jeffro is actually a pretty neat guy to talk to, kind of behind the scenes. You get the guy, without an audience, and he's a decent guy. He really is. I'm just, I'm not like buying into the whole, like, oh no, he's a Bro SR cultist now. And no, I'm not. It's just.
I do think that for that stream, I'm gonna have to wear my dancing shoes.
Oh no! But you know what?
I'll see if I can get a sequin jacket with tassels and an even bigger hat for that.
Hey, you know what? I will give Jeffro this. Okay, he's like, yeah, he did discuss dancing and stuff like that, but he really does do ballroom dancing and stuff like that. He walks the talk. So the guy climbs mountains and stuff like that, and so I give the guy full props on that stuff. So he's a much more athletic, adventure-seeking, outward-going guy. He's not necessarily a keyboard nerd who just sits there and, spouts off all the time. Although he is, in fact, a keyboard nerd who spouts off all the time, too.
Eddie puts out a few fairly decent products.
Mm-hmm. And most of the Bro SR are actually pretty nice guys, and it's kind of surprising because the more I've delved into the Bro SR, the more I found out, I've been talking to you guys all along, and you're actually kind of cool. So yeah, look at him. Yeah, he's working on his 5K this fall. So there you go. The dude's a runner. I can't do that, so my hat's off to you. But yeah, getting back to Fabula Ultima. What was your take on it, Grim?
Yeah, it was fairly easy to run. It's weird because, I've taken an interest in Japanese tabletop RPGs recently. Mm-hmm. And most of them are actually fairly crunchy within the confines of limited dice choice and so on.
I think it's because of the fact that they use 2d6 for just about everything that they have to invent a lot of mechanics to cover a lot of situations.
Well, yeah, and there's a cultural thing about following procedures and doing things a certain way. That's not me being racist or culturalist or anything. It's an observable phenomena. Like, when we went to a nightclub in our misspent youth, everyone was dancing their own way, right? And yet you go to a Japanese nightclub or a Korean nightclub even, and it's more like line dancing. They will teach moves to each other and then they will do them all together. So there's something cultural about that. But this is a Western, albeit non-American perspective on Japanese RPGs in the form of computer RPGs. So yeah, Final Fantasy VII is the big influence on I think Gen X. And yeah, it definitely has that feel to it of the emotion and the drama and so on, and it's fairly quick and easy, so you can keep things moving. You don't feel slowed down too much. I think the only weakness I saw in the system, which is one I see in a lot of systems that I go to review lately, is there isn't really a robust skill system. Everything's done with stats. So if you're a smart guy, then you're smart and you're good at anything that involves smarts, and skills don't really come into it. That doesn't seem to matter so much in this genre as it does in others. So yeah, come see, come sir.
What was your take on the classes, with the way they have those for character building? Because I think that's one of the more fascinating parts about it.
Oh. Can I jump on this one first? Because sure. I'm going to say this. I have all the books, but I also jumped up on the website and started downloading all of the extra bonus character classes and stuff, because the guys are always putting out bonus material, whether it's new quirks for your characters or brand new classes. And just the fact that you can literally choose. I think calling them classes is kind of like a misnomer to begin with, because there really aren't any classes. It is a classless system. What it is you're just picking abilities from whatever you want and stacking them up the way you want to, which is perfect, because that's the kind of game I've always wanted.
Yeah, it's more like Barbarians of Lemuria, or some of the Japanese computer RPGs where you have like a job system, so you move from job to job, and you pick up your levels there. So you don't start level 0, you start level 5. So you can split that between 3 different classes. But if you look at the classes, they're really just themes of special ability sets. So and it's all really easily reskinnable or added to. It's a toolkit for making your own games. It's not a game world in and of itself. It presents you with ideas. So I think it's a gamer's game, and it's a games master's game, because it is a toolkit, and yet it's so rules light and flexible that's easy. Like if you wanted to reskin things, you could take the archer and turn it into more of a gunslinger, though I think there is a gunslinger archetype. You could mix that with the gambling one, easy enough. Yeah, it's easy to do stuff with.
Oh yeah. The Oldman was in our game. Yeah, he says behind the scenes banter and showcase TShirt, and I had a conversation on. I was impressed at what he showed me on the classes. Yeah, because there were so many classes. There were several I wanted to play, or use abilities from. The only reason I didn't is because it was our first game, and I didn't want to try and overly complicate things too much, because I thought if we spend too much time, having to look up rules and stuff all the time for a class or something, then that's going to bog the game down and nobody's going to have fun. But
it definitely seems like it's a game that has to be brought to the table again, because now you want to play with all the pieces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I guess that really is kind of a good way of saying it, because like if you're just reading the core book, you're basically just playing with the 2 out of the box armies that you get with the core set, to use an expression or a phrase, like from Games Workshop. But once you actually see what the rest of the gaming pieces look like, it's like, yeah, we want to start incorporating all that and all those rules and stuff and really get a fun game together. And I honestly think we could.
I'd like to do a Wild Arms style game. That would be fun.
Yeah. Well, any kind of... I mean, that's the nice thing about it. You could do any kind of game. If you just want to do a specific genre, all you got to do is just say, hey, only these classes are... Yeah, you see, you got it, yeah. Only these classes are allowed. And you can immediately just fit everything into that style of game. But I definitely hope that we will play a campaign version of that. I think everybody would be down for that. Plus,
Yeah, but
I want
to behind on running stuff.
It doesn't matter. You got
because
lots.
I set myself a goal. I have to see it through.
Grim, buddy, let me clue you in on something.
What?
You are never going to run all of your games, and that's
done so
okay.
Well.
No, it's you're just pushing. You're what is it? Sisyphus pushing the rock up the hill, my man. It ain't gonna work.
Maybe if I start running games every night, I can get through it quicker.
Okay, well, yeah, if you started running games every night, but you will burn yourself out in a year easily.
I'm already a bit burnt out, so maybe not.
So no.
So maybe maybe it sounds like it might be time to just kind of take one game and focus on that for a couple weeks, just to.
Well, I just did that with Fallout, so I want to wait a bit longer before I do another mini arc.
Yeah, it's like me with my miniatures. I'm not crazy enough to think I have enough life left in me to paint every single miniature that is unpainted and in my grasp. But I do make progress where I can. The problem is I just keep adding more miniatures to the pile, so it's never going to get smaller. And it's the same thing with your games. The number of games that you own is not going to stop growing. Okay, so you're never going to get through your stack of books. So don't worry about it.
I'll totally get to all of these minis to paint at some point. Yeah,
you sure will.
And other lies I tell myself.
Yeah, you'll get that box finished someday, but you may have about like 50 more boxes afterward to finish.
Need to work out how to play crossbows and catapults online.
See? Yeah,
set it up with a webcam and you see left a bit, right a bit, right a bit.
You have to play with Miss Grimm, I guess, because that'll be the only. Well, no, you have friends. You have real friends. You can invite them over.
You have friends. Being my meat space friends at the end of next month, so I can either take necromolds or crossbows and catapults.
Oh, damn! That's a hard choice because necromolds looks super fun. Patty just got to play that. Look, he had a lot of fun with that. That's the other thing too, is they keep coming out with all these fun games, and it's just kind of like, damn it, I'm 51. Where am I going to get a chance to play this shit?
Can't go around someone's house and say, "Oh, can they come out to play?"
Yeah, walk. Just go knock on the doors of like little kids and go, "Would you like to play necromolds?" And watch get shot in the face by the parents.
we need Grinder for nerds.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, because I wouldn't want to go and set up all my stuff at the friendly local game store because, those people are just notoriously bad about respecting your shit. And
Grim, I've got the name for it. Instead of Grinder, it's Clacker. Like your dice go clickety clacker.
There are 5 dice goblins in your area.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Jeffro. I accepted this a long time ago, though. He says, I quit painting minis when women started asking me to dance. Nobody ever said anything nice about my miniatures, yeah. More than once, I brought really beautifully painted miniatures to games, and nobody cared. That was when I came to the realization that, hey, if you're going to do this, do it for yourself. Do it because it's a challenge, a personal challenge to yourself to see how well you can do. Because unless you're doing it professionally for, like commissions, you're just doing it for the satisfaction.
Yeah, Rune Knight has a good point as well.
What's that?
Hates that society has turned so insular.
Yeah,
that's a good way to get on a list.
Yeah.
So my next neighbor 2 doors down, I noticed his kid had a bunch of War Machine minis drying in the sun on their windowsill. And I thought, nah, I'm too old to go around and say, hey, I saw your kid's stuff in the window. It looks really cool. Does he want to play a game sometime? No, that's how you end up on a list. So
yeah, especially with the way you dress.
Yeah, don't worry. Come into the windowless van and answer this my simple question. Does this rag smell like chloroform?
Jeffro, that's awful. T-shirt, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Yeah, no, that was a real experience, Jeffro. Yeah, I would bring my beautifully painted miniatures to the gaming table, and nobody cared. They were like, "Yeah, that's nice, whatever. I don't care."
And then people grab the mini by the body and not the base.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's why I made sure and had like extra layers of lacquer and stuff on it to make sure.
You just need to choose a faction that is normally painted in Cheeto orange, and then you'll be fine.
That's an idea. Maybe make the. You know what? I think I do have some Marines around here. Maybe I will do one up in a Cheeto scheme using like some foam brush or something. I could make that work. Make it look like Galadriel from Rings of Power for season 1. Cheeto Galadriel. Yeah. Speaking of which, yeah, that's coming up. Ooh, excitement. I love how they keep trying to make all these characters sympathetic, and I'm kind of like, you do realize that these are the same orcs who took one of the elders, tortured him, cut all his limbs off, and then hung him up as a banner when they marched. So, I can't remember the name, but yeah.
Well, you got to remember, this all stems from this same idea of trying to make the villains sympathetic. I mean, they made Cruella de Vil a hero, the woman who's famous for wanting to skin puppies to make a coat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't get that. I don't know. I'm not getting political, but I do think as a society, for some reason, we have like really gotten our sense of, moral right and wrong kind of screwed up somewhere.
And the thing, I think a lot of it stems ultimately from just this idea of, from just almost empathy unbound, where having empathy and being sympathetic to others is seen as one of the most the one of the greater goods one can do, but it's not we're to the point where it's almost not allowed to have any restraints upon it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, Magnificent Devil, you're right. Never do anything as a hobby with the intent to impress others. Yeah, because they're not going to care. And I always think that's kind of sad, because think about it. Somewhere out there's some guy who's assembling every single possible type of cheese and keeping it in a collection, and they're just waiting for a camera crew to come in there and take a look at the cheese, and everybody's going to be like, yeah, that's cool, whatever, and turn the channel or whatever.
You can fascinate a woman with a piece of cheese.
That's what I'm told. You can fascinate a woman with a piece of cheese. Squeak a Mouse, I think, will fall for that. But
yeah.
I need to get her in a room to try it.
Mrs. Grimm likes her cheese. So.
Oh, okay. I do have a couple of video games trailers that we can look at, I think. Let me double check and see what I got here. Did I delete them all? What?
I'm going to go top up on water real quick.
Okay, do that.
Black Myth Wukong is looking more interesting to me. Apparently it's not very Souls-like in that it's actually playable. And I am a sucker for Journey to the West, so
I would like to play that. Please allow me to I'm a bad of wealth and taste. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, Patty's Parlor, you can fascinate women with cheese, supposedly. I don't know. There's a lot of things you can fascinate women with. You could always dress up like something that you're not, and that'll fascinate them for about like 3 seconds or so before they start laughing.
Peacock. Blind them with your tail feathers.
Jeffro, strong words. You are never going to impress the mediocre. Don't try to impress. Your objective should be merely to dominate. The elite will recognize your accomplishment while the crab bucket seethes. Probably true.
All right, Andrew Tate and Spats.
Zax! Dude. Zax is one of the guys who he started his channel like a little after mine, and he blew up huge. mean, I was over there. I was checking out his channel the other day, and he's got like 1,500 subs or something now. 15,000 subs, something like that. Crazy amount of subs, and I was just like floored. So good job, Zax, man. I'm seriously well done, man. Well done. But I found this, and it actually looks like it was fun. I was kind of hoping for Castor to get back before I put this on, because I think he'll enjoy it. So we'll chat a bit. So another game we need to try is a friend has been really talking to me a lot about Dragonbane.
Yes, I remember you saying about Dragonbane. I think that was on my list. I could run that next.
Okay, if you want to. Well, here, before you do, let's wait until the end of the month, because at the end of the month, hopefully YouTube will send me a little bit of money, and I'm going to buy the Dragonbane set as a little birthday present to myself.
Yeah,
using YouTube money, but because I've already got it figured out. You know, that the bestiary, the core box, and the rule book are just about the same amount of money that I have coming in from YouTube at the end of this month.
Yeah. Maybe we'll try Ogre Gate then.
Ogre Gate. Okay, tell me about that.
Chinese martial arts, wandering adventurer type stuff.
That sounds awesome.
Yep.
Thank you, Zax. It took forever, but we got here. I guess Ironcaster got pulled into another dimension. But anyway. Yeah, let's take a look at this. This is I found this the other day, and I got excited about it because it's a Metroidvania type thing, and then when I saw who the protagonists were, I was like, ooh. Now we might get copyright claimed on the music on this, so if you can't hear the sound and you're watching this on playback, my apologies. YouTube forces us to do these things.
M for mature.
And just by who they had as producers on this thing, you can already tell who it's going to be, right?
No. Carry on.
Okay. You need to increase your horror movie game. Well, you know that song, you know that theme for sure.
That's Splatterhouse.
No. Might as well be, though.
Kinda looks like it.
Yeah. You can finally play Ash in his own game. Well, there've been other Evil Dead games, but this is the latest. Yeah, this is cool. Yeah, the fact that you buy both games and you can cross them over is pretty cool. And yes, you get some DLC characters.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. I want to play that. I don't necessarily know it's going to be super duper fun, but it looks fun. Yeah, Jeffro, it does kind of look like... Well, actually, the graphics do look better for than the original Nintendo. They are a little bit more beefy, and the sound is a lot more beefy. But there is a lot of retro-style gaming where a lot of the movement is to go back and make games look like older properties to increase the nostalgia bait and probably to keep the production costs down. So,
I think I'd have rather seen it as a straightforward side-scrolling beat 'em up rather than
platformer.
The platform elements, yeah.
Yeah. It kind of looks like a Metroidvania, so I hope it is. Ironcaster is...
It'll be 10 minutes.
Okay, so it's going to be 10 minutes. All right. We'll probably be done by then. 3D video gaming was a mistake. Well, I don't know, but Skyrim is so much fun. Fallout is so much fun. Cyberpunk is so much fun. So, but anyway. Speaking of Cyberpunk, I did see something that really resonated with me this week. A woman who is disabled was talking about how Cyberpunk kind of gets us ready for death, because the game is kind of all about, has a lot of death. I mean, V is just covered in death. V is kind of an unusual Cyberpunk character, because normally when you play Cyberpunk, it's with a group of edge runners all working as a team. But V was a team of 2 or 3, really, and all of his team is dead except for him, so he just continues on by himself. Unless you count Johnny being part of his team, which kind of is.
Yeah. Which is... Well, it was an interesting choice. Because most games like that, I think these days, sort of the action RPG thing, you would have companions that you could bring with you on the missions. And they chose to kind of start you with Jackie, which kind of helped you along during the period where you're learning the ropes of the game.
And supposedly you had T-Bug working as your,
Yeah. But it was interesting they kind of stripped all that away from you.
Yeah. But this lady was talking about how with her physical disabilities and stuff, it's almost a power fantasy to her that you could replace your failing heart or your failing lungs or whatever's wrong with you. She was mentioning that people's lifespans in the Cyberpunk game get up to 100 pretty regularly.
Well, yeah, Saburo Arasaka was even older than that. He would have been, because he fought in World War II. So by 2077,
he'd have been like 120 something.
More than that.
No, more than that.
Probably about 150, even
something like that.
Yeah.
Well, of course, he's the exception. I mean, he just has a ton of money. So
yeah.
But what was part of what was neat about that too was the fact that she was talking about Johnny in particular partway through it, because she said that Johnny is a character who has already died, and not only that, but he died with a lot of his own personal ambitions left unfulfilled.
Yeah, this is kind of a classic Ghost, really.
Yeah, and he is completely at your mercy in that game, because you can choose to basically have him destroyed at some point in the game, and it's just heart-wrenching. I couldn't do that to him. It's like every time we get to the end, it's just like, nah, man, here, you take my body. Go on. I'm dying anyway. Because I think it's the only right thing you can do. I absolutely hate the Phantom Liberty ending. The new one that they included. I think it's sad in more ways than one. Because V literally loses everything. And I mean absolutely everything. No cyberware, no Johnny, not even any friends, really, because all of his friends, all the people that he met have moved on without him. So the only guy he's pretty much got left is Vic, and even Vic can't do anything for him because Vic is pretty bound up by the corporate rules now. So I'm curious to see which way Cyberpunk Orion goes, because I'm already hearing stirrings that they're starting to get teams together for that and working on it. I don't know when it's I don't know how long we're gonna have to wait for that game. I'm almost positive that after what happened with 2077's fiasco for its release, that they will not make that mistake twice.
Well, we can hope not.
We can hope not. But one of the other things that she mentioned, and I agree with, is the fact that Phantom Liberty actually seems to be more of a complete and better done game than the actual base game itself.
I mean, the two are tied together. I think it completes the game, but I don't think it's a complete game in and of itself exactly. Well, because it has to take place within the context of the rest of what's going on.
It does, but the fact that it's just like it's so removed from the events of the base game, it's like once you go into Dogtown, you can spend pretty much, you don't have to necessarily just buzz through the quest and finish it off. There's so much stuff you can do in Dogtown, and Dogtown feels so much better fleshed out. And there's just seems like there's so much more to do with the addition of Dogtown. I mean, because that's when we got stuff like our car theft thing, which I love that. That's my favorite thing. But there's the drops. There's the relic bits. There's the gangs that move back in. It's just amazing. And I kind of wonder whether or not Orion is going to take place like in 78 or if it's going to happen in 77 or how far.
I wonder if they're going to keep it in Night City or go somewhere else.
Yeah. I don't know how far Mike wants to push the timeline, because from the looks of things, no matter what ending you get in 2077, the canonization is going to be that Arasaka, kind of has a bit of a fall. Because if Saburo dies, of course, and if his son ends up taking over the corporation, which happens in more of the endings than it doesn't, the indicator is that he pretty much tries to cripple the company from within.
I think the canonical ending is probably that Saburo takes over his son's body.
Ooh, so you get the devil ending?
That's the one that makes the most sense to me, because thematically, Arasaka is like this unkillable evil, and Saburo Arasaka is like a Fu Manchu analog. He's always several steps ahead, and this may be the whole reason he had a son in the first place.
That is the indication.
Yeah, because Soul Killer goes all the way back to 2013 in the game timeline. So that would make the most sense to me. It might be more interesting if you have a civil war between the different factions in Arasaka, and you could still have that and have Saburo take control, because maybe his daughter knows about what's happened and isn't down with it, and the same with some of the other factions. So a corporate civil war would be an interesting spin on the corporate war stuff that they've otherwise talked about.
Are you serious, Passerby, that a 2077 source book for Red? I mean, because they just dropped the Edge Runners box, which I have, and it's awesome. I love the Edge Runners box because, finally we get to play in 2076. So I don't know. Maybe they finally. You gonna find the link? Okay, cool.
I've got to pull it up right now.
Okay, let's see it. Oh wow!
Listen to an hour ago. Gen Con announcement 2024, Cyberpunk 2077, Night City 2045, Shadow Scar starter set, and more.
Now I heard about Shadow Scar. I've already downloaded their free stuff, but rollback.
Shadow Scar.
It's a new game that they're pushing out. I had actually planned to talk about it many weeks ago, but we kind of never got around to it, and I thought, the news isn't new enough anymore. Nobody cares. But we could talk about it sometime. Night City 2045. Is that because of the red?
Must be.
That would make
That's
sense.
2052, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
Shadow Scar. Cyberpunk Red announcements. While it was not the release date for Cyberpunk Edgerunners Mission Kit, the impact of the new starter and box sets was felt. Not only did we almost sell through our bought stock, we had every single copy of the Red book sell out other than the core rulebook. You've all made love for Cyberpunk Red be known, and we brought a huge list of new releases on the horizon for Cyberpunk as a whole. And I'm going to keep those brief too, but we'll give you just enough to get curious. And yes, Cyberpunk Edgerunner Mission DLC kits are still on the horizon, but don't worry.
Good.
Let's see, Tales of the Red Forlorn Hope. Our next book will be the new Tales of the Red Forlorn Hope. We bring the famous bar into the time of the Red and continue the story alongside some very familiar faces as you go through 6 overarching missions that help shape the future of Forlorn Hope. Expect this to release this fall.
You know, maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just an unpopular opinion that I have. But honestly, when they announced Cyberpunk Red, I got excited, and then I found out when it's supposed to take place canonically in the timeline, and I felt like this is bullshit. Because nothing in the Red, really pertains to 2077 so much. I mean, it's like even the gangs and stuff that managed to survive the time of the Red are not the same when you get to 2077. And the thing is, 2077 was released pretty much right around the exact same time that Red hit. So my anticipation was, I'm buying Red, I'll be able to play, 2077. And it was like, oh, so no, not at all. None of the stuff that I'm actively participating in 2077 really has anything to do with this. Because it's kind of like, it feels useless. It kind of feels like, oh, this is the prequel. We're playing in the prequel movie that nobody cares about because we already know what happens canonically. I don't know.
So, how do you feel about Night City 2045?
Same as the Red.
It's another odd choice.
Yeah. I don't care about the Red. I don't care about 2045. I don't care about anything Cyberpunk before 2076. 2020 being the exception because it's so far back and there's so much lore and so much genuine love I have for the older game. But everything about the Red, I don't care about it. I don't want to buy those books. I'm not going to use them. They're not useful to me for anything I'm running, unless I'm running specifically a Red book, a Red campaign, and I just can't get excited about a Red campaign.
Well, maybe in that case, the Cyberpunk 2077 book will catch your interest because this is going to be expanding upon the Edgerunner mission kit and filling in what little taste we gave you in the kit. If you've been wondering why something wasn't in that kit, it's because we kept it lean for beginners. Now we're bringing you the full course meal. And no, I am not hungry right now. Why do you ask?
Wait a minute. You don't know if playing a Cyberpunk game excites you that much? Certainly not running one? You didn't see our Cities Without Number Cyberpunk runs? Because those were good. People liked those. And Grim can tell you better than I can, because he actually ran Cyberpunk Red more than once. But I think the changes that they made between 2020 and Red were not good.
Yeah, not good. I prefer 2020 as a rule system. They shifted to hit points rather than wound levels, and it's just all a bit meh.
So then that begs the question: do you prefer the red over Cities Without Number?
I mean, the core of it's not really a fair fight because I've played Cyberpunk a lot, and most of the system is still familiar, so I know what to do with it. So I think just barely, I would say I prefer running red.
Okay, that's fair, and your reasoning is fair. But let me ask you this: knowing that the Edge Runners kit is out there, and knowing that there's a 2077 book on the horizon, the next time you decide to pick up a game of Cyberpunk and want to run it for your group, now you have a choice between, I guess, 2045, red, 2076, and 2077. So, which one would you prefer to run?
Well, I tell you now, I'm not going to bother picking up the Edge Runners mission kit now because I'm going to wait for this book because it seems like much better value for money to me. So, yeah, I'll probably pick up 2077 and then try and pick up our aborted Cyberpunk campaign from my Meat Space group because we were going to run 2020 in 2020 and then the plague hit, so that kind of screwed that up for us.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that there's a 2077 source book coming out. I will definitely pick it up. I'm not that excited about 2045. I'm not all that excited about Forlorn Hope.
So I'm kind of interested in the Night City 2045 because the original Night City source book was really, really good. And part of my inspiration for doing Whitechester the way in which I did. So if they can replicate that, but bigger and better, it might be enough to get me to get that. But the trouble is, all that information is going to be irrelevant, especially by 2077, but even playing in the red, which is 5 years after, 7, 10, so it's a while after. So I don't know why they've put that there, unless they're trying to bridge the gap between the end of the corporate wars in the 2020 game supplement timeline. If maybe they're trying to bridge the gap between that and the red. But I never understood why they went for the red anyway. They should have done 2077 from the get-go.
I agree. I totally agree. And Just a Passerby observes that he finds that the missions don't make use of all the characters' abilities, and most stuff just seems to be solved with combat.
That's kind of Cyberpunk.
Ironhead is asking, as a total Cyberpunk noob, can you run a character without any cybernetics? Well, if you're running Cities Without Number, yes, you definitely can. But if you're running regular Cyberpunk, I guess yes.
I had a cool non-cybered little martial arts monk character in a Cyberpunk game once, and kicked the head off a full Borg conversion. So,
this is kind of like TShirt Imwe. I am one with the Force.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Golly, man, that makes me sad. That one movie managed to make characters that were so much more relatable and so much more memorable, who you actually got upset at their deaths over, than, all this other garbage that Disney has an entire season worth of. And it just, people need to learn how to write.
You would think that you would make a move. You would go and make the show based off some of your more interesting side characters, instead of the kind of generic stand-in we had for a Han Solo type characters. Well, what about those two? I want to know about Chirrup and Imwe.
Well, yeah, a Chirrut Imwe. I don't know why they don't. That's a license to print money. Those two characters, one, they fit the DEI requirements because they're not white guys. And two, people like those characters, even though we know what happens to them in the end. They still had stories that went, that happened before then. So it would have been interesting to find out what happens to them. All you gotta do is make it happen, Disney, instead of, trying to just mess up other characters that we know and love. But, whatever, man. It's your company. You ruin it.
Half the time, I think the problem is the age-old problem of like studio notes. Notes for the C-suite. We need these things in this film. You need to add this, take that out. Audience testing suggests X, Y, Z. And so you could have the best writer in the world, but they're so hemmed in and forced to chop and change things and do stuff that they don't want to do that you end up with a bad product. But then on the other hand, Rian Johnson.
One of the problems you get, though, is they basically go in and they don't have a tight script. And with just the amount of times that a lot of the Marvel movies, for example, have had to go and be recut and reshot, it's because they don't start out with a good script. They go in with ideas and then they have notes like, just give us 30 seconds of footage of a fight scene here, and they send that off to some CG guys.
Yeah, and the CG looks terrible.
Or relying on actors to do improv, and not everyone is Robin Williams.
No.
So it doesn't
actually
work.
By the way, 10 years.
Yeah. 10 years.
Yeah. That's probably why he was on my mind.
Yeah. And we did lose Jack Russell from Great White a few days ago too. Another great band.
Can I just answer just the passerby there?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. So maybe you should run Cities Without Number because you're just getting frustrated with all the simulationist combat mechanics of Cyberpunk Red. I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to say I don't find Cyberpunk Red particularly simulationist because it is so forgiving with the hit points and things. Like, people are really tough and vehicles and objects are really fragile. So I don't know how simulationist it really is. I'd say 2020 is more simulationist and deadly because of it. But yeah, if you want to dick around with the mechanics to get them to the point where you really like them, then going with something OSR based like Cities Without Number is probably a better bet for you, because you'll have a better intuitive understanding of the mechanics and how to fuck with them and what fucking with them will do.
Thanks. They just got my video demonetized.
You'll be fine. It's been an hour and a half.
Just one more thought for you there. It just passed by. In case you don't have it yet, what are you doing? The free version of Cities Without Number is very thorough, so you have more than enough to run entire campaigns with.
Yeah, you can download it for free and just evaluate it for yourself. Ironhead Gaming, thoughts on Bloodlines 2? Okay. I was kind of wanting to bring up this a little bit closer to their release date, but after everything I have seen on this game so far, and the fact that I'm already $80 out of pocket because I pre-ordered it 5 years ago, I'm just gonna say that it looks like shit. It really does. The main character they keep showing off is, it's like strong female with clothing that absolutely totally covers her almost head to toe. I mean, she might as well be wearing a burqa, which is totally anti-vampire to begin with. But the game does not look good. It looks, they were showing us, demo footage and all that stuff, and I don't know. My first question to them was like, are you guys running this on a potato? Because the gameplay looked really slow. Plotting. You only get like 3 clans to start with, and they're gonna DLC all the other clans in. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you seriously gonna do this? This is the worst idea you could have. They got rid of all the people who were working on the original Bloodlines, who would have made a good Bloodlines 2. And they're trying to shoehorn all this other stuff in. And plus they made you an elder with amnesia, which I understand why they're doing it, but at the same time, it's kind of dumb. I don't like spending $80 on something that is a waste of my money. So hopefully when it comes out, and I get to play my 30 minutes to an hour, hopefully Steam will still let me refund it. I bet they won't, though. They'll probably say, no, you've had it too long, even though you haven't actually had it. It's not going to be good, man. There's no way it could be good. If it ends up being awesome, I will totally bite my tongue and get up on the internet and sing its praises. I absolutely will. But I'm pretty confident from looking at it that it's going to be a piece of shit. And it hurts, man. Like I've said before, we don't get mad about this stuff because we don't care. We get mad about this stuff because we're passionate about it, because we wanted to see a good product.
That's
because
it.
I'm
going to get my name changed by Deedpoll to Modern Audiences.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
since everything's made for modern audiences, that means I'll be in control of everything.
I mean, it's like, look at how passionate I was about Bloodlines 2. I paid $80 5 years ago in advance to get this game because I was so confident that what I was going to be getting was going to be good. If that doesn't tell you anything about how I feel about the game,
I never even played the first one, but
what?
It seems to be pretty legendary. Yeah. I don't know. I was too steeped in the tabletop and the LARP. I didn't think any computer game could measure up. So
do you want to?
It's probably so old now. It would seem janky.
Grim?
Yes.
Grim. I play it. I pull it out and play it once a year at least. Grim.
I'm just not that excited about it.
Grim, stop it.
Yes.
You're hurting me.
Deal with it.
You're hurting me.
I was being vampires with flesh and blood people in corsets, so, don't feel bad for me.
Go outside, nerd. Get out. Go. I ain't got time to be distracted by your worthless chime-ins. Go on.
Well, I did. That was my point.
It's good. It is. I actually bought a copy for Esh, but I don't think he's ever played it either. So I don't know if Ironcaster has.
He's too busy studying.
Yeah, he probably is.
I'll put a couple hours in.
You put a couple of hours in? Or you will?
I did.
And?
I need to get back to it.
Okay.
I did play that other VTM game.
Redemption?
Yeah. And we
that was okay.
We used that to run games on our little home network a couple of times as well. Because you could make your own levels and stuff. So
yeah, Redemption was okay. It was a good idea. It wasn't really the best vampire game, but it wasn't horrible. I mean, it was playable. It had a good story, had decent voice acting, had a good plot. So I can't say too many bad things about it. But no, man, Bloodlines is epic in every single way. It's the vampire experience I always wanted at the tabletop. But anyway, Magnificent Devil, you're right. The reason the enemy wants to destroy your passions is because you are passionate about it. You won't change them. The only option is to seek alternatives. Yeah, well, we do. And when we can't, we find older stuff to enjoy, which is probably why my movie collection consists at this point largely of films from the 80s, 70s, some 60s, and 90s. But, have I heard about VTM Redemption Reawakened? No, I haven't.
I'll say the big question is, what does Shout Factory put out this week for you to pick up?
It is actually. I do monitor Shout Factory pretty closely. I'm not going to lie. And Kino Lorber. But between Shout Factory and Kino Lorber, an Arrow Video, and in some cases Vestron Video, yeah, they cover all my needs for movies, because yeah, modern cinema just ain't really cutting it. But anyway, well, gents, shall we?
Let's.
Yes.
All right. Thank you all very much out there for tuning in. We had a pretty good sized audience. We had probably one of the bigger audiences we've had in a long time, and I really do appreciate everybody out there who was watching. Thank you very much. And what can I say? Hey, tune into us tomorrow. We're gonna play some Cities Without Number, and Tuesday we're gonna do some Tuesdays with the Geeks. And who knows? We may have a guest on or two. We never know. So, till then, y'all take care.
Good to be seeing eye to eye again. Thanks, V. Truly. On behalf of the staff of the Independent California Motel, I wish you all sweet dreams. promised supply of life. How do you look out the supply of life?
Wake the fuck up, samurai. We have a city to burn.